Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassie, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest book club for music nerds.
Good to see you guys, man.
Good to see you too. This is your Bruce Springsteen.
Was rocking. Was so. I mean, I'm so inspired right now. I always do this. I go like this, and that means we call them brails and goosebumps and stuff. And thank you so much, Judi Chicago. I've seen forever, but the past few years, I just think with the world coming to like these grinding halts and stuff, has done a lot for me. So I want to thank you guys. Seriously.
Us too.
It's good to be
it's as cathartic for us as it is hopefully for everybody else.
Sometimes you just want to cry and laugh and in a closet with like a shoe shoved up inside of you. That's so messed up. And then sometimes you want to come out of that closet and just dance and scream and say, I got this, I'm going to survive. Like, I mean, I'm dead serious about all this, Travis and I think we go way back.
It's been a minute.
But the thing is it's so awesome about like friendships are this magical thing, because I think we could spend an hour episode of us never making sense on when we actually met. I think we met 100 times, and I guarantee it was always after 4 a.m. But it doesn't matter.
Ever since.
It was probably in Atlanta.
Good. Yes, for sure. Again, thank you so much to James Joyce, behind the scenes, drummer of Judi Chicago, and who basically curated and made this happen. So I'm going to pass the mic to him.
Before you do that, can I profess my love to Judi Chicago? Because Greg and I
This is the Judi Chicago episode.
You guys played like 529, right? Like, was it 529 like years?
Every month for like a year and a half.
We were the first. We actually were the first band to ever play there.
Well, I didn't live here then.
Oh.
So
you were out there first show.
We were, yeah.
Well, when was your first show at 529? No, 529 wasn't around. So I lived here, and then I moved to Florida, and then I moved back. And so it wasn't that long ago.
Party, right?
No, it was at the New Old Lenny's.
Was that our first one?
Yeah, with Porsches on the Autobahn.
Oh, by the way, tonight we should do a live album called The New Old.
Yeah.
Well, I saw you guys then, and
it was probably here.
Absolutely loved it, and I was like, Greg, we have to see them again. And then when you guys played here, you guys have played here recently twice.
We have.
We played a year ago.
We had about a 9-year
6
hiatus,
months ago.
and then we
took 8 years.
And now you're bigger than ever.
I've been to both, and it's your shows are the funnest experience, like just the funnest
it's
experience.
like Charlie Chaplin, who is one of my biggest heroes in life since I was a boy, said, "A day without laughter is wasted." And I think he said something like, "Now I'm just messed up." But I think he said, I think Nietzsche or maybe Chaplin and him were doing acid. They said, "Life without music is wasted." But it doesn't even matter. Reality is I love these guys and I love dancing to you guys.
We've always said we're serious about having fun.
And Mark Twain said, "Dance like no one is watching." So listen, we're big fans of sayings and quotes here, But the thing is, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I do.
And it's beautiful. It's all gorgeous and beautiful. And so thank you for it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And I think the both of the albums you guys picked are great as far as really on this show we always intend to do all these. We're like, we need to do like soundtrack.
You guys accomplished what we tried
and you guys actually committed to it. Like I want to do a jungle compilation, and you want to do what you have brought forth, which is a very important album to you.
Now we really are.
And this is Travis Thatcher.
Audio and video.
Old friend.
Visual hugs.
Yep.
So the pills
Travis
are kicking
Thatcher.
in.
Yeah. So Ben and I.
It's the reissue. I have this very same edition.
Do you?
Yeah.
These are both Jungle Mania, this, and some other records. Like when you're feeling somebody out and starting to be like, hey, you want to start a band? What records
tell us
do you like?
your pick right here. Let's talk about this.
So this is Dubnobasswithmyheadman.
By Underworld.
By Underworld. It's
Yes.
not. So
Yeah.
it's the first record of their kind of what they became known as Underworld, right? And so.
Well, were they Underworld? Were they Underworld before?
But they were shit.
But they were different.
They were shit except for
They had
underneath,
to reinvent themselves.
underneath the radar is a fucking tune on their weird.
But they
80s.
opened and toured like right before they broke up. They opened and toured for like with the Eurythmics, right? Which were pretty. Yes, they did.
Yeah,
they were like a funky
and
synth
before
band.
that, they were in a band called Freur,
right?
Who recorded with Connie Plank, who's another very much our hero from the krautrock realm. He did all of the fucking
Autobahn.
I mean, Connie Plank is
and everything else.
my personal
Noi.
hero.
So I heard that
Devo.
they were
Yeah.
poppier,
Kraftwerk
like they were
ate the
poppier
Beatles,
before
yes.
before this album, right? Because this
They were
kind of
popular,
like
but
no,
they-
poppy. Like,
Poppy.
they were kind of like.
Well, they were a
kind of
band.
poppy.
They were
Different
like
sound.
5 dudes in a band.
Oh, really?
And then
Yeah, kind of like
They're like
some
a
of
new
that.
wave band.
Yeah, kind of like some of that weird, like
that,
funky,
though, like, that's a
percussive
bad-
post.
it's not a bad thing at all.
So
But they got
totally
better.
different. Like they totally completely
reinvented
revamped.
Well,
So the
everything.
two of them were like, hey, I don't want to deal, whatever their personal, whatever it was, they're like, I want to do something else. I want you to come with me.
Acid House happened too.
Yeah.
So that was
That
cool.
had to have been a big thing,
Well, no,
right?
because Karl Hyde after the Eurythmics tour, he stayed in the U.S. and he worked as a session musician at Prince's Paisley Park studio in Minneapolis, and so it's like because he wrote the lyrics and kind of like he wrote these songs, some of them because of his experiences in the U.S.
He spent a lot of time in the U.S. throughout his life, a lot of time in Louisiana.
Yeah.
He's a guitar guy.
But I know that
Right.
like one of my favorites, Skyscraper, was when he played with Debbie Harry and Chris Stein as one of their and so he was in Greenwich Village and he actually wrote that song about it inspired him. Greenwich
Sure.
Village inspired
Well, yeah,
him,
his
but,
whole deal is very like stream of consciousness.
Right,
Like
right.
you're trying to make sense of the lyrics is kind of, and that's what struck me. I'm not a words guy personally. Like I don't
You're a
understand.
sonic dude.
I don't know how I can remember any of our words, and I only
Yeah,
do it
you
kind of
definitely
okay.
struggle sometimes. But it's good. But that's half the fun is you completely.
But I mean, that's
ad-libbing
why.
shit.
I mean,
It's
there's
awesome.
exceptions, and there's Underworld. One of the things that struck me was like, I don't need to understand directly what he's saying. It was like a vibe, and it was like it's interesting.
The
and
lyrics,
it's,
they're part of the instrument.
It's an
the
instrument.
noise.
It's an instrument.
So what
And
year did this come out?
Lyrics.
94.
94.
It actually
Same
came out,
year.
It actually came out on my birthday, and so did Jungle Mania.
Shit.
It came out in '94. They both
This
came
is
out in
such
'94.
Yeah.
a
But
crazy
this
double.
one-
Good
this
birthday.
This isn't my episode, but this is what I was listening to when I was 15 in London. This was me on the night bus with this on my headphones.
But
But-
this is what you guys
But
bonded
This
over.
actually came
Definitely.
out on my 22nd birthday, like exactly on the day on my 22nd birthday.
This
And-
got a 9 out of 10 in the NME when it came out, and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, because they are very good critics. Like if Enemy says something's good, I listen.
I wouldn't go that far.
It's also such
Back
a,
But 9 out of 10.
Back then,
I-
Yeah.
I think one of the most notable things about it that I learned in my research, it relates to dance, like people that are into dance music, but also people who, because like Greg had this
that's
on
what
his
my
iPod,
my
and Greg
point
has
was
had
going to be.
this.
It's like not just that.
Yeah,
it's
Greg is not, like,
tech
into
heads
dance
and-
music.
Greg is
No,
not
it's-
into
it's
dance.
Well,
like
and
there's
they
somebody
had
who
so they
would
had
love
Darren
it.
Emerson in, and like
Right.
he was became a huge trance DJ and like progressive trance DJ, and it changed their sound. I think that I don't know exactly how that went, like how that came about.
Well, I think from what I learned while Karl Hyde was here, doing the things with Debbie Harry and also at Prince's. I mean, I don't think it was that long, but he was here doing that. Then
Well, he was
like-
he was easily influenced, and
well,
he wore that.
Well,
you know.
Karl Hyde, I guess he already knew. What was his name?
Darren Emerson.
Right. He was a friend of like his. I don't know, something
Yeah,
in-law
part
or
of the-
something.
it's a small
But
country.
while he was here in the U.S., Rick Smith and he started collaborating with Darren Emerson because Darren Emerson wanted to learn the technical side of recording, and Rick Smith wanted to learn more of like the, kind of like the.
What are the kids
dancing stuff.
into?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean they
And which I
really
think-
influenced each other very deeply.
and I think
clearly.
that is one of
yeah.
the biggest things that created this, like, kind of masterpiece that really appeals to people on both sides because
put that up
because
here.
of that collaboration.
And to me too, this is
So
like
good.
my love of like krautrock and like I feel like their influences are all in there. It's not just
Totally.
It's not house music only. It's not techno only. It's like there's so many layers to
There's
it.
a lot of William Burroughs in what
Yeah,
they do
it's
on
It's
that
really deep.
record.
It's really deep.
And it
Yeah.
really resonated. You know, I was just like a nerd in the 90s and into electronic music. This was not the first Underworld I had heard. I probably Hackers and, you know, whatever. But then, like, when I really dug into this record, it was just like, I've never heard anything like this. And it was like, I was always into electronic. When I was a little kid, you know, I grew up, my dad's a kind of guitar, blues, rock musician. That's all he's ever done. Always
And you're
encouraged
the opposite.
Instruments. Kind of.
In a way,
I grew up
I
playing
love
saxophone.
how
I was like, I can't take guitar
you and your
lessons.
dad are
yeah.
like yin and yang, but
Totally.
yet both
Except he's into
musical.
synthesizers now, which is great.
That's weird.
It's a trend.
But who did your dad like play with, or who was he the guitarist of?
I mean, he's done his own stuff. He worked for Gamble and Huff in the '70s. He's done all kinds of crazy stuff. And now Martin guitars, he just goes around and is like, "Look at this cool Martin," and they fly him around.
amazing.
It's
Whereas that will be you, but with synthesizers.
hopefully,
Sure.
But
And saxophone.
so they got me the Electric Light Parade 7-inch,
Sacrifices.
the Disney thing.
Yeah.
And I just wore it out. So there's something in my brain that immediately, like, electronic sounds just resonated. You know, when I was a kid, I was making mixtapes of Nintendo game soundtracks. Like, there's something wrong with me. But, like, when I heard this, I was just like, yes, this is the music that I want to listen to.
I know you're a lot younger
You're on
than
the
me.
right side of things, though,
I'm gonna
because
bring up-
they're.
He's also an old
No,
soul,
but
too.
no, because I'm
You
gonna
know.
bring up something that I know came out when I was really young, when like Nintendo and stuff like started like gaining popularity. They actually had like some compilation thing that was songs written about like Nintendo games. There was one like about Frogger, and it was like Froggy takes one step at a time. Moves, has
Are we
big
talking
breath.
about
And I
Pac-Man
remember
Fever?
this.
Yeah,
We're
that
talking
sounds
about
like very, yeah.
This isn't Nintendo. We're
That's-
totally
that's-
changing
that's-
systems.
Because I'm the
here.
Nintendo generation for
But
sure.
that's
It's like
Atlanta.
but it's
That's
only,
actually an
it's
Atlanta
only like
record.
4
Yeah.
years.
Buckner and Garcia.
I didn't
Like,
know that. I
it's
didn't
not
live
a
that.
long period
Yeah.
of time between them.
I have the record.
He was
We'll
like,
do
he
an episode on
was
Pac-Man Fever
He
next,
was volume
but
2.
Right.
Yeah, like,
I should have brought that.
But so this struck a chord, and then, like, you know, I went to Georgia Tech down the road. I was a nerdy computer programmer. I just sit up all night long listening to this and Orbital Records, and, like, it was just like, that's what just resonated with me. And I met Ben, and I was like, hey, we like
You
these
guys-
bands. Can we do our version?
This is
of
a
this?
Judi Chicago blueprint.
It's the
for
Genesis.
sure.
That is
Yeah,
the
for
best
sure.
ever, man.
You can
That's-
talk about
where
Fall,
it
you
started.
can talk about Underworld. There's stuff on our first album where this is exactly what we were
That
trying
we
to
were,
do.
like, the
Oh,
breaks,
yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
like, drum, it's just, like, our
words
attempt at,
and
like, how
words
can
and drum
we-
machines.
Yeah.
You know, imitation
And
is
like it's just,
how everyone learns to
it's
play
very-
music.
It's
and
probably
like-
airy, like even the way you throw the words out too when you talk about Burroughs. It's like how is this being presented to me? It's like it sounds
Yeah.
like a dream almost.
Yeah, I think we definitely were aiming at a more absurdist vision that they have, but also Underworld has a wicked sense of humor, you know, they show
Totally,
it. There's a lot of
totally.
strange
Yeah.
stuff that'll catch you
Yeah.
on this, too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that too. Like 3 lines that are heartbreaking and serious, and the 4th line is so self-deprecating. Like,
Yeah, was it Shake Well Before You, she said, but you never touched me anymore. I was busy listening to Phone Sex coming through the back door in a skin-tight trance, and we all went mental and danced.
so
See,
good.
I think
Yeah.
I think more the line that gets
That
me from
is,
that song
pure poetry.
is,
Jealous,
is
right.
call me what trampoline she said.
I was
she
too
said
busy with
today,
my head.
But I was too busy
Well,
with my
because you can
hand.
follow his narrative
Yeah.
for a minute, and then all of a sudden it just goes somewhere else. And you're like,
Right.
wait a minute.
So it's
like,
really
what?
it's really witty.
All that Elvis shit, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stupid.
yeah.
It's
I don't.
really silly.
I,
But
I, I
awesome.
can say about okay, so about Dirty Epic, the song that was just quoted.
Yeah.
I love.
That's
shit,
the one.
I love that song.
Yeah.
The one thing I can't have a problem with is just the "Here Comes Christ on Crutches," and the only reason I have a problem with that is like I don't have any problem with it except that the phrase together for some reason is kind of like certain words. You know, there's certain words like.
It just
moist,
rubs you the wrong way,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that.
I don't
people
know, I
just
like
don't
Christ on
Like I know
Yeah,
that there's something
Christ on
about
a
that-
Crutch is a
He
great
was
band.
skateboarding and broke his
But-
ankle.
Yeah.
And he
But
didn't like,
but
you
there's
know.
something about he was skateboarding.
It makes total.
But there's
It
something about
as
that
a young
saying.
man, it makes total sense.
There's something about that
fucking sick
saying in
move
the
on the
song that
half
just kind of
pipe.
like it. But that I mean the songs. I'm not saying like, the
It's
songs
really good.
It's very goth.
freaking
It is
amazing.
Very-
I mean,
well, that's
It's
so
the
that's
closest they
other-
come to
It's-
Depeche
no,
Mode.
I think it's so. There are some parts that do kind
Very
of.
That's a really
Depeche
good
Mode.
question
There
because I
are-
loved it. They're
there
one of
are
my
some,
favorite, one of my
but,
favorite bands.
For sure.
And-
Before I read the lyrics, so before I really knew like and saw everything he was saying, so that I was able to quote it, I just knew that it had and like you were saying, where it's not so much about the lyrics, but it's like even the words he's saying with them, it makes you feel a certain way.
Sure.
It makes you
They
feel really
create
uneasy. It
an
makes you feel.
environment.
Well, that's
create
That's
a
what it makes
mood.
you,
That's the idea.
it makes
Yeah.
you feel uncomfortable for some reason.
And
I mean,
I
it's
love
like
that.
it
I
is
love
awesome.
that,
It's
yeah.
awesome that it can make you feel that without the lyrics. 'Cause it's not the lyrics that make you feel that. It's something about the song,
But
the way it's put
I
together.
always view them
Oh,
as,
the delivery,
as
the
vocals
execution.
as an instrument too.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's got a lot to say, and I really enjoy the lyrics. But I also really enjoy that it's like, especially later stuff too. Like they just released this massive box set of just stuff, and it's like there's so much that's just texture, and that's how I think about
Right.
words
It's
and
not-
music and like
It's not
personally.
this because they released. I thought they released. Is that box set include this and then all the? Or
No,
there's another
it's
one.
like stuff they did in the last
Brand
10
new.
years.
But
It's
but
like,
there is something that they did with this particular.
They've done
that
a
is
3
that's
CD,
yes.
like what? Well, that's
And it's
because
supposed to be
also
massive, right?
that's because this record really came out of individual singles. So Dark and Long.
Some of the best records are.
There was
All
a
of their
there was a different
records-
version of Dark and Long called
Yeah.
Dark Train that was a smash. They were actually having club hits
That
with
was in
Darren Emerson
Trainspotting
on
too.
board. No, I don't.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
they did.
maybe.
Yeah, with the
they
baby
did
on
for
the
like
ceiling.
2 years. They did
Yeah,
singles, right?
yeah.
Like they were just doing
Love-
singles.
what a
with
So
it.
Cow-
Like-
Cowgirl was a huge club record
Right?
too. So as a consequence, you could fill 3
I
CDs
remember
with
buying
mixes.
down the
Right.
road at Satellite
And they might be
Records
6-minute songs.
a
or something.
12-inch version of Cowgirl and something else that came out, and it was a bad dub, and I kept returning it because it had a skip in it.
But-
And they're like, "Sorry, dude, this is what it was, a total bootleg." But
Yeah.
like, I was just like, I got really heavily into their
That's kinda-
Boku Fish
that-
singles.
that's kinda cool,
because there's a
man.
massive single set. They always had alternate mixes and alternate,
Yeah.
you know.
Because
and
they
I'm-
always were pitching stuff at the clubs.
Yeah,
They never lost that connection.
And
At
that's
least maybe
what-
not until like 10 years in.
Yeah, they got, but like, I appreciate that.
That's pretty awesome, man.
I mean, there's something kinetic about it. There's something like, I mean, I think that that's the way we think a lot too. It's just like we're not in our bedrooms just making this stuff to listen in our bedrooms. I don't ever want to make music to just. I mean, I appreciate people who make music for themselves, and that's amazing. I'm just not that person. I always want to make music to share with people, and hopefully in a fun setting,
Right.
and we all have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to. Everyone has enough shit going on. You want to give them a 45-minute escape.
But like I would
reality,
say, like
you know?
also an interesting thing is like as opposed to Jungle Mania, this is like big room music.
Yeah.
This is one of the groups who, along with Orbital and The Prodigy, they jumped to a
They
stadium
turned it into
size.
this massive.
But
not
they were
the-
still
not-
good.
Not in the U.S. though,
But I
but
think
in England,
just
maybe
like-
Europe.
Europe for sure. Globally, they were huge in Japan.
I think
Sure,
just like
yeah.
things, they were big in Japan. Oh, no, just kidding. The thing that I mean that brings up another thing that I absolutely love about the record, like the combining the that they. You can get into it and you can totally dance like to the whole thing, but you can also play it on the background.
Sure.
And it just
That-
and just
that
completely.
works.
I mean, I would
say-
sit there
enjoy
3
it.
in the morning doing my computer
I
science
appreciated
homework.
about this is that it could
That's
have.
interesting.
You're absolutely right about the different context because it could be a little bit more of an ambient type. You can be really into it and just be blasting it and like driving through whatever.
Which Jungle is only one. Like the other record, you have to listen to only one.
Jungle,
way.
like
Yes.
like
Yeah.
Jungle Mania 2 definitely is like.
It demands
It-
attention
it-
in a different way.
yeah, it's-
But at the
I mean,
same time,
I don't know. I'm
it's-
at the point where I'm listening to that when I nap.
I think the thing with me, like
Just sleeping.
with Jungle Mania,
we're not the norm.
But
Who's your
Underworld,
therapist? I didn't
because-
sleep, man. I'm jealous.
I have no context for this. Like if I saw that in a record store, which I probably have, and didn't even know what it was.
Well, and what did you all
Well, I was
think?
going to say,
So
that's what I was
it
going to say
comes
as well.
completely out of left field
I love
for me.
the display of it.
Let's talk
Because it
about
look-
that because this is their design
yes,
company.
yes,
So-
Tomato,
so for me-
tomato, right?
So for me,
Yeah.
it looks like I'm a boy in New York, like an old New York Times, like a newspaper.
And you look at
And
the
I
first.
love that. It's like extra, read all about
But
it.
was it
And
was it
that's-
so much a
that's what
design company,
inspires
or
me.
was it more just like an artist collective that just did that ran the gamut? Because they also put out a book called Skyscraper, right?
Yeah,
That-
they did
so-
commercial work too.
Really?
My mum was a graphic designer and she used to subscribe to a monthly graphic design magazine and they had them be like the guest artists for that month because they were doing,
So they were doing
commercial
every-
work.
doing every-
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the artwork is
It's not
incredible.
punk at all.
No, but you look at like our first record, and it's obviously
influenced by this.
we're in weird tops in the middle, but like it's very much like
We did
that
exactly
kind of
the same
vibe.
thing,
But I'm
yeah.
interested in like because like you guys had not heard this as an album before, right?
I mean,
I never have.
Definitely not
So
for me.
Listening to it over, listening to it over and over. I
You remember bits,
I do
right?
believe
Yeah.
that around like 95 that I did
I never
hear
heard
it.
this album.
No.
There are parts. I think it was like the Christ on Crutches that remind.
Uh-huh.
Like after I heard, it, I was like, I know that from.
Well, my
like, that's
question
just
was
a-
like, I don't think this sounds dated. I don't. Like, there's a
think it
lot
sounds
of
dated,
records
it's
that I
not.
love from this era and from the '80s, and like that can sound dated. But to me, this still sounds
Sure.
like the future.
I think
Yeah,
and
that's great.
That's my opinion. I don't.
You
know.
definitely, when you listen to it, you can feel that this is a like seminal piece of music.
The whole piece,
You know, it's
yeah.
kind of like listening to a Sticky Fingers or something like that, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, this is their version of Takes a Nation of Millions or something.
Sure.
Like, you know,
and then
it's
as I
like,
learn more, I'm like,
it's an
oh,
important
right, like,
record,
you know,
and it's sort of a
Karl
timeless
Hyde's-
record instantly when you listen to it. I think.
Yeah, they are. There are lots of parallels I see between them and bands like Can, because they are like
I
a studio-based
totally hear that,
project,
so.
Yeah.
like pursuing a unique vision and doing it all
Well,
kind
like,
of
Karl
themselves.
Hyde's a big guitar player. That's like his
I was-
instrument.
I-
That's what he's always done. And there's so much guitar in this record
There-
that is not obvious.
What is you? So you guys, I forget who you mentioned earlier. It doesn't show on the back, but like who you mentioned earlier as like kind of like you can hear it. I think it was Depeche Mode that you could hear Depeche Mode, right? Was it Depeche Mode? That
I
you
think
said you
some of
could hear?
those guitar lines
I think
are like
I think it's at the end of Skyscraper.
Sorry, I need to
It's
address
got
this.
This little
So unprofessional.
tiny. It's got this little
just got
tiny
texted
bit
too.
at the end
Too.
where it almost sounds like
Texted
it's
me.
like. brrrr, And so it sounds very
Sounds like
much like the guitar work
Enjoy the
on,
Silence or
no, I was gonna say
Everything Counts the Laws of
head like various songs on Head on the
Cure,
Door by The
yeah.
Cure, where they
Beautiful.
have like a lot of that like almost like skipping.
I
like,
mean,
guitar
another band that are
sound.
like a massive guitar band that
So
it's
great.
not really that obvious until you see them and you're like, oh shit.
They're a huge guitar band. Huge guitar band.
Shredder.
And,
yeah,
and
like,
another one of my favorite bands. Yeah,
Totally.
Unreal. You know, I think that for me that the crazy thing is like when you talked about like reinvention, like I think about like the typical like kid who's going to school and he hears a song like Creep by Radiohead. Okay, great pop song, whatever. That album sounds dated, and everything else they've done doesn't sound dated to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like so like. Everything they did it like after like just sounds like this masterpiece of art that like
So the record-
no matter what year it is sounds
the record
right
before
to me,
this
you know
with
what I
the
mean?
single Underneath the Radar, the rest of that record is not, I don't enjoy it. Like, it's fine. It's like, it's kind of just like a very like, I don't know how it got made, but it was like, it's just like, it's like, we're a new wave band.
Someone
Some
okayed
label
it,
guys.
Someone okayed it, and someone said here's 50,000
But like, I
pounds,
feel like
whatever, and you know.
the single Underneath the Radar could have been like a B-side on this record. Like, it's almost there. They're
Right.
almost into this blueprint, but not quite.
Do you, were any of these? They were singles. You said this was a single.
Yeah, Cowgirl was really big.
Oh yeah,
Huge
I
club
could
Dark
see that-
Train
I could
was
see that
really big.
You know what? So
Cowgirl for a lot of people was like, this is what ecstasy sounds like. It
You
was
know
a
what,
really
and
big
honestly,
thing.
honestly,
That-
the whole
that
to
is
me,
awesome.
to me, the whole record
Not that I ever
is an acid trip or an ecstasy because like
That's
even,
the like, I'm invisible,
even
I'm
when
invisible.
even when you come down to like the fourth side where it's just like I'm not particularly super fond about the fourth side. but
Me
the fourth
neither.
We were just
side-
talking
I
about
think the
this,
but-
fourth side, it matters what time of year or
But
when you're
here's,
going.
It's a different-
No,
you know
here's
what I
the
mean?
thing, though.
Thing.
The fourth side, though, is exactly what you're going to experience when you're
On ecstasy.
when you're off. No, when you've
Come down.
You've come completely off of it,
Yeah,
and
it's-
you're in that like lazy afterglow like
Yeah, it's
feeling.
true.
Like
It's
it-
come
like,
down vibes
It
for
is.
sure.
It's just like
So it makes sense so they actually had forethought and planned it. Like,
I
it's
actually
really-
thought when I bought the album, when it came out, that the fourth side sounded dated then, but it hasn't sounded any more dated since.
No,
I don't know what
it
that's
it
worth.
doesn't sound dated. It sounds weird.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
Mother
bit
Earth
fretless.
is like,
It's
It's
a bit fretless.
yeah.
it's kind of flat, right? But
Yeah,
it
like
does-
someone's wearing an ethnic
but it
hat,
does-
and they're like,
Totally.
But it does
That's
feel,
amazing.
but it does feel like that feeling that you get. I mean, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna admit, like I've had my party days. I've done a lot of stuff.
No, you, it's so weird.
But so like when I get to the fourth side, yeah, it's not my favorite for like, enjoy it, but it is perfect
It makes
for that.
sense.
But it's an
for
album.
that
I mean, I
feeling.
think they pieced together, like, it's kind of like this, like, it takes you on a like
I know
journey.
exactly. That's what I'm
and
saying.
I think that's
like,
a really
end is-
cool thing.
The end is the perfect. Like,
It doesn't
it's
feel
the-
like, oh, we had some songs, we put them
No.
together.
I also
like,
want to point out that there are tracks on this album that feature that panpipe sample that you hear all the time. That,
Seriously.
like the sledgehammer,
as will
like
a forthcoming Judi Chicago song.
yeah. So there's none of that panpipe
Tonight,
sample
yeah.
on the fourth side
Tonight
of this
you're gonna
record.
get James Joyce doing that.
So
Yeah.
You know.
yeah.
No, I mean I do, and that's one of the first things Greg said. He's just like, yeah, he's like it's totally like an
Well,
like
that's
an
the cool,
ecstasy
that's,
acid
the,
trip. Like
that's the cool thing is that like punk dudes like follow this,
right.
which is really because it's all to me it's all
It's
if
interesting,
the right
yeah.
thing,
Is
it's
it
all
is it a
punk.
crossover hit?
It's a,
Yeah.
Well,
for other-
it's because it like I feel like I don't know my time in Atlanta, like when I moved here in 2000, and like going to places like MJQ when you could go to a night where there'd be like the house night on Saturdays,
Yeah.
the hip hop night in the back room,
Playing Gang of Four
and
another
then
night.
you'd hear
exactly,
and it's like but the same
Rock
people
night,
hung out
Tuesday
every
night.
night,
it's wonderful.
and so it's like dudes in like cut off
You just
jeans
soak it
and like
all up.
vests
Every night
with
it's a different
b-boys
thing.
and with like it's
Yeah.
just like that's the world I wanted to live in and did for a minute.
open-minded, yeah.
And I feel like that this in America. I mean, like I said, I was just a nerd, like programming computers, and
you
that's
are
how I
just a
found.
nerd?
I'm still
You
just
still
a
are
nerd.
an awesome beautiful nerd. Like, yeah.
But like this is like, I don't know how this stuff gets received in the broader context.
I mean,
I think if
I heard that this
Here.
album is critically. Oh, you mean like broader context?
like in America,
globally?
like
Oh,
when
no.
it happened.
I mean I can
well,
just
I
say
think
that
I
can
think
just say
things get better in time.
Greg,
like I
Greg
think a lot
has
of
it
people
on his
didn't
iPod,
get it.
and honestly, like he isn't like we were saying.
But it makes sense that like a
not-
rock
Greg
dude
has it
would
on
be
his
into
iPod,
it
you
because
know
it's
it,
got
like-
like jams. It's like
It's resonating with people,
Yeah,
for sure.
that-
It definitely
that
are-
resonated.
I listen,
and
I-
maybe because of train spotting, maybe because of that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, no,
like,
I don't think
feel
he. I don't
like-
think he ever. I don't know.
I'm
That's not why.
gonna say Jeff
This is like
Tweedy is listening
trying to
this
figure
record,
out
like-
Greg's
Entirely
iPod. That's
possible.
like half this episode. Is
Well, but
Oh,
I
someone
could ask him.
So, yeah, someone who's
So
someone who's
their
open-minded.
best
Call him
known-
now.
Their best known song is obviously the one from
I
Train
forgot about
Spotting.
that.
But it was
The
written.
thing is,
But
the
it was
thing
written.
is like, but it's anyone who's open-minded, you know.
Totally.
But it
Exactly.
was written at the same time, like, so the song from that it featured in Trainspotting, it was written right around the same time that these
Mm-hmm.
were, and actually I think that the artwork is part of the, it's hard, like the artwork is so mishmash, it's hard to see, but
So
they said
the
it's
original
like the artwork.
CD issue has the lyrics for Born Slippy in
Yeah.
the
Really?
sleeve. It just isn't on the album. But it's the same approach. I think they were just grabbing because I actually handed those lyrics in for a poetry assignment.
Really?
Before it became
What'd you get?
before it became a hit, they made me read it out because they thought it was so good.
You're like,
And I had a friend who knew. I had a friend who was
Yeah.
an Underworld fan who was just like,
A plus.
yeah,
Which the
lager,
show-
lager, lager. Make a white thing.
Dude, that's amazing.
Well, there you go. My teacher knew quality when he heard it.
can't
so.
believe.
Yeah, tangled up in blue.
All we are is dust in the wind.
It's true.
So deep.
That's, man,
I've
learned so much.
That's a comment. So just to say, has anybody else in this group ever done that where they take song lyrics
I
and
never
then they submit it as a poetry?
No.
No, I just steal them for Judi Chicago
I
songs.
just mishear them constantly.
I
Yeah.
never rap. I never rap, but I'm a big fan of taking. Well, I know that plagiarism is 4 words in the exact order. You know, that's plagiarism. So I've stolen 3 words and then added my own words.
Right.
Well, like speaking of like mishearing, like I'm pretty sure that they're not talking about corn dogs on one of these.
God, I hope
Corn
so.
dogs, kissing the wind.
well, he-
I
That's
think it's
truly why I resonate with this.
corn dogs, kissing the wind. I think it's porn
podcast that
dogs.
skips
I mean,
hot dogs.
That's a Judi
I
Chicago.
love
thing.
hot
He had a
dogs.
podcast that skips hot dogs for a minute.
No, I need. Okay, so.
We've all played Corn Dog-orama.
Ben's was a compilation,
Yeah.
so I understand not like. But so what are your favorite tracks on here though?
I mean, yeah, Dark Train. I think, Skyscraper. That was like one that was.
Skyscraper.
What do you like?
Fucking Tongue is amazing.
Yeah, that's a.
Tongue is great.
That's a movie in itself.
Yeah.
My favorite is it
Spoon Man is
Spoon Man.
so
That
good.
is my
It's like-
favorite.
And that's the one which
I
is
think-
basically just
so
I
weird.
Feel Love.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
but I
Yeah.
think that it's. Oh, is there like I feel love like it's
The
just like,
bass line, the rhetoric.
Yeah.
Like,
But I
yeah.
think to me if this is like This is.
Oh no, that's
is
in Skyscraper.
This is a trip. This is a trip to me. Like it is like whether it's acid or ecstasy or whatever. This is a trip to me. And like Spoonman is the peak. You're peaking. You're peaking right when you went it with all
It's pretty psychedelic. Yeah, for sure.
And, yeah, so I would probably say that's my favorite.
I'm so excited about
So what? But I didn't
What's your
hear,
favorite,
I didn't hear
Travis?
Travis's favorites really. Like
Yeah.
you said, Skyscraper.
Skyscraper, I do, yeah. No,
Cowgirl,
Spoonman is,
come on.
yeah, I mean, come on. You can't,
You
like,
can't
that,
not like
that
Cowgirl,
song
though,
is
right?
so,
There's a reason why it became so big
you
in
want
the
to
UK,
dance.
right?
Like, you
I
wanna,
wanted to
yeah.
dislike it because of how everybody was like everything I read was like that's the hit, that's the main
Yeah.
hit. I'm like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do that. Like,
Surf
but I
Boy's
couldn't help
amazing,
it.
too.
But I mean, we were saying like you
Which
don't
one?
like river
Yeah.
bass
Yes,
as
yes.
much, but I kind of love how smooth that is and weird.
Which one?
River bass, like the
Is that's on the fourth side?
yes.
Yeah.
I only had
Along
it
with
on CD
NA.
Yeah, that's the
when I
first
was
song on the fourth side. Yeah.
I mean, the thing about all of it is just, and the best thing about music is about timing. Like, there's things that I didn't like a few years ago that I love.
But it's
now.
kind of like,
You know
what,
I mean? Like,
what's
I
your
didn't-
favorite children?
yeah.
I mean, this is
the
your. It takes a nation of millions to hold us
It's
back.
so great,
I would
man.
say. So it's like if you think about it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Like, what is your, like, what songs do you like or not like? It's like there's not there's
Well,
not a correct.
And also, it's like
it's
the whole
just
piece of art.
it's the whole
is-
Yeah, it
thing.
really,
Like
really
it's
is.
kind of like
I
It's
would
a
say
mo-
that
it's a
I would say that
48-minute movie,
more
you
so
know.
about this than I would most of the records. Like most of the records that we talk about, I do want to know that. But this is so much a journey that you can think.
It's
you
never-
can see that they thought out. that
I
they
would just
really
put it
thought out the
on.
placement.
Like
Yeah.
I was never
Yeah.
like I'm gonna go to this
Well,
song.
that's,
Right,
the
right.
other thing is,
Sure.
1 month, one song's your favorite, another month, another song, and that's the best. That's why music is magic. Like that's why we love it. You know?
music
I
is
mean,
love.
It's the
Yeah.
best, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Can I take a look at
I
it?
can say
yeah.
both
I'm
of
gonna-
the records that we talked about.
I'm
with
so
you guys
excited about this
are like
weekend.
both, like,
I'm gonna be hanging out with you
I-
and Ben this
so
whole
much fun.
weekend.
Yeah.
So
Like,
much fun. Like listening to both of these,
oh my
like doing the
God.
research and
Just
listening
like,
to them.
it's like an old New York
Incredible
Post,
time.
like
Yeah, I
So
mean,
for
also
me,
the album
it seems
after
like a
this is
newspaper.
insanely good
Totally,
too,
yeah.
and they actually even
But I
tackle
know
some
that
drum and
they
bass on
don't-
the
they
second one
probably
too.
had
Yeah, they get into the drum and bass world on the next record for sure.
It's funny because they're both East London concerns, you know. It's just that Underworld were in they were older generations. They were at different clubs.
So Romford is East London.
East London,
to you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ride the
good, man.
sainted rhythms on the midnight train to Romford.
Right.
So
Well, I
yeah,
knew their studio was in Romford.
But yeah, I feel like looking at the artwork on this, like if you look at like our first record, it's pretty obvious, like the
Yeah.
That's what you're going
you
for.
weigh influences
Visual.
on this, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing, man. It's like well, listen, if you're gonna wear the influence on your sleeve, make sure they're good influences.
Put it on your sleeve.
Yeah, exactly.
Burger Joy on our first album is basically us trying
It's
to do
an
Underworld.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They just-
absolutely.
it's if
Even to the
Underworld
point
was
where there's
writing
like
about a person.
processed
Burger
guitar.
Joy, yeah.
and-
So, do you, Tom? You remember the Burger Joy that was at Boulevard?
Yeah.
And well, this is their ode to
I
Burger
love
Joy.
that. Yeah, that place is wonderful, man.
Yeah.
Is that
Well, it wasn't really a
available?
note. I never went there. I just thought it seemed like
You
a
just
tragic.
saw it.
Yeah, it seemed like sad.
At the Chevron at
Yeah, it's
Boulevard
like a
and
little-
So-
I-20.
Like how
It really
if
was.
that's your joy,
So
if that's the
where-
joy, then you're
Where
fucked.
Burger
would
Joy,
somebody
man.
who wanted to hear this find this?
What that?
No.
Oh,
Or a song.
the first
That,
Judi Chicago.
your
Well, it's about to be newly
at the
available
Star
on.
Bar.
Come to the Star Bar.
No, we've been a band for over 15 years at this point, and we're like, we need to do a box set.
So wait,
The first album is on Spotify.
It is on
and it's on
Spotify.
Apple Music, but right now we don't get it. So wait a month and then we'll get the money
but
if
if
you buy
you
it.
wanted to buy the hard copy, can you buy?
You can-
We
We've got
have
10.
like 10 of them left.
Oh, cool.
the
Yeah, so come
CDs,
to the
yeah.
Star Bar
It was
now
never on LP.
Right now,
and give us
this-
$10.
Yeah.
this is coming out for like-
But no, we are
Right
talking
now.
about, we have all these like other things, and we've been kind of collating them into this.
Yeah, the box
massive
set,
archive.
Beyond Meat.
It would, yeah.
It's coming.
Uncle Meat,
Nice.
Beyond Meat.
It's
Beyond
gonna
me.
happen.
It's
We'll
so
put-
good.
we'll put
Beware of art.
I love the whole 100% of the package, the visuals.
It's a beautiful record.
and-
Oh yeah.
Because I just love things that make me, why I do what I do as a writer and a musician. I want to make people stop and fucking think, and I want to entertain them and make them laugh and cry, but to make them think and move, and like the shit makes you think and move.
It's incredibly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's incredibly interesting on vinyl because I believe three of the four, because it's a two LP.
Mm-hmm.
3 of the 4 sides only have 2 songs, and then there's one that has 3
Yeah, I
songs.
love those.
But it's cut to be loud.
But,
Yeah.
but yes, and I think that's the
Blasted,
most.
yeah.
That's the best thing. Is it's like
Yep.
you don't feel like things are just excessively drawn out when you're listening to it. You feel like it's just organic, like it matches.
very-
Well,
Yeah.
that I
format,
think
like,
too
it's
is
a
the
good-
house DJ. Like it's like a 12-inch single is a 12-inch single because you can fit all that information on the record. You
Right.
need that much
It
space.
can
for
you can
that
get the deep
dynamic
bass,
range.
you can get the
Yeah,
really
yeah.
like punchy. It can be.
It's a
it'll sound the
physical
best.
limitation. Of
Yeah.
the
I
medium.
love when I
Yeah.
get like a double album and of something like this, and I see there's only 2 songs each side.
Yeah,
You're just
you
like,
know it's gonna
this is
sound
gonna be
good.
awesome.
That excites you.
And
You're
it's
like,
gonna-
"Man, I'm going for the
This is
I'll
gonna.
say that-
This is.
Yeah.
They're not. They're just gonna vamp. This is gonna be
of,
awesome.
Both of the
Like,
picks,
yeah.
but maybe especially this one, are best because the first several times I listened to it, I just put it on my turntable and just listened to it, which is still great. But once I listened to it, like with my headphones, that was incredible. Like that really, like you can really hear
Yeah,
all
you
the
can- it's-
individual like layers of things that
For
were
sure.
really well thought out and that you don't necessarily hear when you're.
There's a lot of layers.
Yeah,
There's a lot
there,
in there.
there are. There are.
Man, thank you so much for this pick.
Thank you guys so
Yes.
much for
Oh
Thank you,
my
Travis.
goodness.
having here,
I appreciate it.
having us here.
This
And
is
it's
beautiful.
official. We met in June of 2001.
There you go.
At 3:47 a.m. I was wearing a blue turtleneck. He was wearing a red dickie.
And nothing else.
And nothing else. Thank you guys so
All right,
much.
thank you.
All right. Starboard, Judi Chicago.